So here with Fight Bananas, we got Blake, we got Johan, we got one of the best fight cards of the year thus far. Maybe one of the best fight cards they put on of all time, right? It's one of the they just absolutely stacked this card from top to bottom. And at the end of the night, it was Sugar Sean O'Malley capping it off by defending his title against Chito Vera. But overall, the night was filled with a lot of moments. You had Dustin Poirier with an insane comeback win over Benoit Saint Denis. You saw MVP making his UFC debut, putting on an absolute masterclass on Kevin Holland, something I did not expect to see at all. You saw Jack Della Maddalena making his name in the welterweight division. Peter Yan showing he's not done yet. You saw Curtis Blade showing he's not done yet, destroying the streak of Jailton Almeida. And then even guys like Kyler Phillips making their entrance into the rankings. And also, you had a heavyweight guy, one of the longest reaches in UFC history, making his debut. We'll talk a little bit about that too. But guys, let's just talk about overall reaction to the entire card real quick. Of course, if you are joining us live, we do appreciate you being a super dedicated MMA fan. Obviously on the East Coast, it's 1:45 a.m. So anywhere else, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys give yourself an applause for showing up this late. And we really do appreciate you. But Blake, my man, first off, how was your reaction to this entire amazing card?
First off, I have been, for lack of a better word, jizzing about this entire card for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You tell me how long I've been doing it. I've been doing it that long. This was going to be absolutely amazing just based on star power alone, and it delivered. I mean, it absolutely delivered. And one of my biggest, you mentioned the guy, Mr. 6'7" himself. One of the guys on the undercards and the preliminaries, I was super excited about. But the card itself, oh my God, I was super excited. I mean, you got Sugar Sean versus Chito Vera. That in itself is worth anybody that they would have put underneath on the prelims, the main card. Doesn't really matter. I would have watched that entire card by myself. So the fact that they stacked UFC 299 to the brink with as many people as that they could, I absolutely loved it. Johan, what'd you think?
Listen, you said it was $299. It really felt like $300 tonight. You know,
It did, though, didn't it?
It felt like $300. And you know what's crazy is that, like, usually when I start watching the prelims from the beginning or the card from the beginning, I usually get like burnout towards like the beginning of the card. But like every fight was exciting. Every fight kept you invested. And like I'm still like wide awake at 1:45 in the morning. I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. Like I feel like I'm on crack. That's how good this card was.
Oh it was an absolutely amazing card for sure. I want to give a shout out to everybody joining us here in the comments. Canyon, Sean, Joshua, all you guys showing us out. Joshua that's saying the diamond. For me, that was honestly my main event to see Dustin Poirier get that win there tonight. But let's start off with the main event on the card. Let's start off with Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. And this fight was an absolute masterclass by Sean O'Malley, right? He was able to pick apart Chito from distance. One of the flying knees that he hit, I thought that would have been it. For most human beings, that would have been it. But he was able to withstand that. Obviously, Marlon hasn't been finished yet in his UFC career. Kept that streak alive, but it was a little bit of a lackluster performance from his end. We didn't see as much of the volume towards the latter half of the fight as you'd hope to expect from Marlon Vera. Obviously, he's a slow starter, but he didn't get really at anything going in that fight because Sean, his footwork was so good, his elusivity was really good, and he was able to keep Marlon at the end of the punches. Johan, I'll go to you for this one, my man. Reactions to that fight and just overall takeaways on Sean's first defense.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, when you have the nickname Sugar, that holds a lot of weight, especially in boxing, which is my sport. And he really lived up to that name. How slick he was, how fast, how smooth, how sleek, how elusive he was. That man was putting on a masterclass performance. And, Marlon Chito Vera, through no fault of his own, he didn't get going because of what Sean was showing him. The feints were very crucial in this fight. The speed kills for him. The combination of feints and speed, he didn't know how to read anything. So he couldn't really throw anything because he didn't know what to anticipate. It was like he was O'Malley would feint one way, Chito would bite, and he would already be setting up another attack. So it was like Chito just struggled to read O'Malley throughout the entire fight. So overall, this was a masterclass performance by Sean O'Malley. I'm looking forward to another defense. He said he wants to fight Ilia Topuria. I would be all for that. I want him to dominate the bantamweight division before that. But if we're just talking about tonight, this was flawless. You know, he didn't get the finish, but he really didn't need it. He really showed that he is the UFC's next top star.
He continued to build on his brand, right? You needed to see him defend that title, and that's what he did. You know, and they say something when a UFC fighter becomes champion, they become like 15-20% better, right? They become a little bit better. And that's what we saw to Sean O'Malley, right? Sean was able to, you know, just be even more sharp on the feet than we saw him before. Like this might be, even though it wasn't a knockout, right? This might have been one of the most sharpest performances that he put on.
Should
With
be
the amount of
red
volume
flag.
that he was able to throw and with everything he was able to do with that, you know, I think that was just so amazing to see him grow from even the last fight, and even with the first check of the kick that he was able to get of Chito, that just showed even that a little bit of growth. Blake, my man, thoughts on the fight and reaction to Sean getting that win so dominantly over Chito?
Yeah, I thought this was probably Sean's. Everybody's loved Sean O'Malley. Everybody has loved the Sugar Show, and everybody's tuned in. But what I thought this was an absolute masterclass of Sean defending his title and also doing it in a way where he dominated the entire fight. And I think what really stuck out amongst all the other things, and please do, I apologize. I'm probably going to have to go grab my charger here in a minute. So if I disappear on y'all for a second, I got to grab my charger from my computer so we can still stay live. But anyway, Fight Bananas, it's on. I thought Sean put on a masterclass of film work, is what I thought. Sean knew that Chito bites on feints, and feints is what Sean built his entire game around. If you watch this from front to back, Sugar Sean was throwing feints from the hips. He was throwing feints from the hips. He was throwing feints on punches, but he was really working his lower half feints incredibly throughout the entire fight. And I think that's something that you don't see a lot of guys do. And I was actually very worried for Sean O'Malley. I remember the very first Chito Vera Sean O'Malley fight where Chito Vera won the fight, but he kicked Sugar Sean in the ankle and kind of damaged his tendon, which caused dead foot, which it was just an odd fight. Like it was one of those where it was like, these are two guys that we're super excited to see. And this was about 3-4 years ago at this point. It was two guys we were excited to see, but we didn't really get to see the best of both fighters. Tonight was the best of both fighters. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was excited to see Chito fight a best of Sean. And Sean dominated the entire time. I mean, it was 4-0 or 3-0 going into that fourth round. I did think Chito Vera showed a lot of aggression in that fourth round. But man, Sugar Sean just seemed to watch so much film going back to back to back that he was able to pick apart Chito constantly, day in, day out on this fight. And that was impressive to me because I'm one of those guys that, as much as I love Sugar Sean O'Malley, I'm wondering how much he appreciates the game. How much does he take it seriously? Does he love the limelight or does he love the film study? Like, which part does he love? And it seems like he loves both. And that, to me, makes me very proud to be a Sugar Sean fan. But it also makes me very happy to see a young guy who's got so much ability actually take the time to invest himself into the study of the game, because Chito Vera is an absolute fucking killer. I mean, there's no way around it. He's a killer. So the fact that he was able to come out and do what he did, I was very impressed.
Yeah, he absolutely, like you said, Chito is a killer. one thing you said, I don't think it was the best Chito Vera that we could have seen, right? I do think that we saw a better, the best Sean O'Malley, but I don't think we saw the best Chito Vera. You know what I mean? Maybe we will see a future version that is a little bit better now that having this experience going through a championship fight. But the bantamweight division is so deep that, like you said, Johan, you want to see him maybe run through some of these guys first, or at least attempt to before moving up to Ilia Topuria. I love the division, the era that we're in where people want to go for double champ status, but you also want to clean out the division, right? You want to also make sure you don't want to hold up a division. And also, if you lose in that way, it kind of makes even though you're fighting up a weight class, it makes your division look a little weaker, right? I mean, it's also like, they went with WWE and they combined. You don't have your champion lose when it comes to that side of things, as we have Blake goes grab the charger. But Johan, Merab Dvalishvili, that's more than likely the next challenger for Suga Sean O'Malley, right? I think the biggest challenge that Merab is going to have to go through is reaching through and getting through that range to get to the takedown. Because we saw tonight the knee that he landed on Chito, and the quickness that he's able to bring it up, and that the length that he has to use that as one of his weapons in his arsenal, it might be something that's dangerous to Merab. Now, we know Merab, best grappling in the 135-pound division, potentially ever, right? But when it comes to Merab versus Suga Sean, how do you think that fight ends up playing out?
Yeah, before the fight against Chito, I thought it was a terrible matchup. I thought Merab was just going to ragdoll him, and it was going to look like a 8-bit emoji domination fight. But after this performance, I think it's a little closer, and I'm actually hella excited about it because I think Merab has trouble on the feet, especially when the fight is at a distance. I mean, even Henry Cejudo, who was ragdolled by Merab, had some success standing up. Imagine what Sean O'Malley could do. I mean, think about it. He is one of the best people at utilizing his range, utilizing his long reach, utilizing feints, utilizing that he has some of the best footwork. He might be able to confuse and kind of pause the rhythm and, the distance of Merab. And I mean, if he's able to just keep it at distance and kind of play his game, maybe play it on the outside, he might be able to defend this title. Now, granted, Merab's Merab, and Merab is might be able to outmuscle that. He might just throw caution to the wind. He's not as patient of a fighter as Chito, and he likes to throw caution to the wind sometimes. But the matchup is a lot closer now, in my opinion, after this performance from Sean O'Malley. So honestly, I am looking forward to this fight.
Absolutely. Sean in the comments, Sean Sterling, that is, not O'Malley, in the comments saying if Merab grabs him or tires him out a little, Merab will dominate, which is absolute potential, right? We saw at the end of the fight, Sean was tired. Sean was very much tired, and he wasn't taking that much damage. So if there is like a heavy grappling exchange where he has to exert a lot of energy, then that might play into a different factor. Now, we have the co-main event, which was absolutely insane. Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis. You want to give credit to Dustin Poirier for taking this fight, right? Because at the end of the day, he was a guy that has the name. He was the fourth ranked. I do believe fourth ranked in the division. Third ranked, my fault, in the division. And he wanted to do what Eddie Alvarez did for him, which was give a guy who's a young and hungry lion, who's what he's had. All of his fights that he's won, I do believe they've all been by finish as well. So he wanted to give that guy a chance and show that he still was that guy. And, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, Doug Jitsu wins, right? And the Diamond had to go through pressure tonight. And he did it. And he went and he got one of the best comeback wins that you'll ever see against Benoit Saint Denis. Because throughout the entire fight, Benoit was dominating. Now, Dustin did that a little bit to himself by jumping guillotine so many times. And even in the post-fight, he said he's still going to jump the guillotine. So you got to love Dustin for that. But, man, Dustin was able to get the win. Started off with a little left uppercut that shook Benoit when he was shooting for a takedown. And at the end of it, it was a beautiful right hook that put him down and absolutely ended Benoit Saint Denis. Dustin Poirier with the victory. The Diamond getting it done, my man. Blake, reactions to that fight, and how excited were you to see that knockout just like that for Dustin?
I was super excited. My thing was that I talked about Saint Denis fights ago. I mean, I don't even know how many fights ago that we talked about him, that I said this was a dog in this division. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was the fact that I thought he might come out and take over. Okay. He's ranked at number 12, but I think right now, if you put him over RDA, who fought on this card, I think he would beat RDA. And then you look at the top 10. Okay. You got Daniel Hooker, you got Gamrot, you got Chandler, you got Tarsukarin. But over all those guys, then Poirier is sitting at number 3. He was beating Poirier most of that fight. And then Poirier reverted back to something that was instinctual in him. It was the boxing. He said, fuck it, I'm just going to box you, okay? I'm going to come out in that third round, and I'm just going to box the shit out of you. And that's what he did. And Poirier showed why he's called the Diamond, because he can revert back to things that he's done great his entire career and come out and excel at it. Because Saint Denis, I thought, was going to be a rising star, and I think he still is. Like this is no shade thrown at Saint Denis. This is showing that Dustin Poirier, who has talked about retiring in this media circus that we've had for UFC 299, he came out and showed exactly why he can revert back and do the things that's made him great from the beginning. He just said, screw it, we're throwing hands. I'm going to throw hands, dude. So that's what he did in that third round. That's what he did. He threw hands. He said, I'm going to pinpoint your chin point every single time you make a move. And that's exactly what he did. And which is so funny, because that's why I'm glad. Like, I'm a little mad that Saint Denis didn't win. But the fact that Poirier won shows you why he has been such a spectacle in this sport, because he is that good. I mean, I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady. I'm comparing him to somebody who can come out there and execute the thing that made him great in the first place. And that's exactly what Poirier did. He's the Diamond, bro. He's hard. You can't cut Diamond. And guess what? He didn't get cut tonight. I promise you that. And he did exactly what everybody thinks he can do. And I think he almost reverted back to what fans love. Like he didn't try to out masterclass. He didn't try to out chess game, outsmart an opponent. He just said, we're going to go back to the basics of what I'm good at. And that's what he did. He said, I'm going to box you, and I think my boxing is a grade above you. I'm going to Floyd Mayweather you. I'm going to Canelo Alvarez you, because I know you're not going for the takedown game. And that's it. And that's what he did. I mean, it was amazing to see that kind of a comeback, because I had Saint Denis winning first 2 rounds, and you go and get the finish like that for Poirier. He should be proud of what he did, because I know there was a little snippet of him talking about, I don't know how long my game is left in this game. I don't know how long I can do this. I want to spend time with my family. But guess what he did? He came out there and got that finish with what he's done time in, time out in his career, which was the boxing, and he was square on in that.
And he killed it with the boxing, man. And he was able, like you said, that's what the adjustment he made. He did it with the boxing, and like everybody's saying, it's the second round, Blake. Come on, you should know your stuff, man.
I'm so sorry.
Your stuff. It was the second round that the Diamond got it done. It didn't make it to the third round. He doesn't let it get that far.
My bad.
Second round.
You know what I meant.
By the Dustin.
You know what I meant.
By Dustin the Diamond Poirier. But like you said, it was the boxing that was the biggest adjustment when it came to that. But perfect. Kalo, I hope that I'm saying that right. He's saying technically he and his coaches did outsmart him. And that's a really good point. I do disagree with you on that point. He did outsmart him, because what did he do that was an adjustment to what he did differently in the first round? He threw uppercuts a little bit more, right? And that uppercut was what caught him. And then from there, that's what allowed him to do that, because like you said, he was respecting the wrestling too much. He was on his back foot too much. And once you take and put some pressure on a wrestler and allow them, take some pressure off of yourself, that allows that. So yeah, I do disagree with you a little bit on that one. But Dustin is just a cerebral athlete. But like you said, with the elite boxing, that just puts him even higher up there. Now, Johan, with the, him getting the win tonight, there is a couple paths or a couple different avenues that could lead to the title. Obviously, you have Charles Oliveira versus Arman Sarukian coming up. And then you also have Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway coming up, right? With Dustin getting this win tonight, what does his path to the title potentially look like for you?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this before I even answer that. Listen, anybody who betted on Dustin Poirier, straight robbery. Thank God for them odds because I am laughing in the bank. In the wise words of Chief Keef, I'm laughing in the bank. Ha ha ha. I'm telling you right now, Dustin Poirier, he's in a complicated situation because yes, he's contemplating retirement. So the matchups that can be made have to entice him. You know what I mean? He's not going to always take these Benoit Saint Denis fights. You heard him. He said that it intrigued him because he had all these finishes. He was dominant. But if Charles Oliveira doesn't beat Arman Sarukian, is that going to really entice him to fight for the title? Maybe a Charles Oliveira rematch obviously will entice him. I mean that he needs to avenge that loss, and that fight will make big money. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, either winner of that fight is going to entice him. But is Max Holloway going to stay at lightweight if he wins that BMF belt? Maybe. But again, if Justin Gaethje wins, we have a trilogy, and that could lead into the title. So it's really, I think more than anything, I think the most likely path is what happens at UFC 300 because that is what's going to make the most money. That has the most name value. And I believe that Dustin Poirier is now, making more calculated moves at this point. This, an outlier. Benoit Saint Denis, I didn't even think he was going to fight someone at the top at the beginning of 2024. I had him becoming like a top 5 prospect by the end of the year. So the fact that Dustin Poirier took this fight was, crazy in and of itself. But I think starting now, we're going to see a more calculated Dustin Poirier in terms of his business. So I definitely think we have to look at what happens at UFC 300 to see what Dustin Poirier's next fight is. But
Absolutely.
Again,
Go ahead.
I'm laughing in the bank.
No, man, you had me dying with that one. But I do think, to your point, that's probably that makes the most sense, right? Because, him versus the winner of Arman or Charles, that would be the path to be the number one contender, right? I mean, if Justin Gaethje gets a win dominantly, right, you have him probably go up against Islam, and then you have Arman versus, or I want Arman to win, but Arman or Charles versus Dustin to get that number one contender fight after that, right? And I think that would be a really competitive fight regardless because, now you have, if it's Charles Oliveira, like you said, Charles versus Dustin, that's a big money fight, right? That's a big money fight that you can really sell as another 5-round co-main event. Like, I'm loving these 5-round co-main events. I definitely want to give Dana White and whoever came up with this idea to do 5-round co-main events for even non-title fights, money. Loving that, right? But I think that's the next path for him. And I think Dustin, could potentially just be one win away from getting another title shot, at least having one final run for the career. I do think he's the greatest fighter to have not touched undisputed UFC gold. I mean, 4th most finishes in UFC history, 5th most wins in UFC history. And after tonight, retying Drew Dober with the most knockouts or most knockouts in lightweight history. You know what I mean? So Dustin, man, I'm absolutely so happy he was able to get the win. Like I said, that was my main event. But we had another not a crazy fight, but just an insane debut by Michael Venom Page, making his UFC debut against Kevin Holland in what was a masterclass that I did not expect to be that one-sided. Right? We saw Kevin Holland essentially get frustrated with how much missed. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Kevin Holland miss that much in a fight.
No.
The ability of Michael Venom Page to explode and cover the amount of distance that he can with the speed and velocity that he does is so insane. And also some of the spinning attacks, some of the spinning elbows just were crazy. They caught Kevin Holland. Definitely want to give Kevin Holland some props for having an insane chin throughout this fight, eating a lot of punches as well. But Man, MVP doing his thing. Johan, I'll go back to you on this one because I know you followed MVP for a long time as well. So, what were you expecting coming into this fight with MVP making his UFC debut? And how far do you think he can potentially go with this fighting style?
Well, listen, I was very happy to finally see MVP in the octagon. I've been following him since his Bellator days, since his early Bellator days. And, it's really good to see him come out with a win in his debut. That being said, he has a style that we never see in the UFC. We've seen Taekwondo, which is, a rarity. We see, the Muay Thai style. We see a hybrid style most of the time, but we never see a point style fighting. It's because it's fairly unsuccessful. But with him, it's his speed and how fast he can, close distance that makes him so successful with that fighting style. I mean, think about it. Look how quick he was closing that much of a gap. And even Kevin Holland said it in between corners. He was like, he's faster than we expected. And it's because, it's just he's so explosive. He's light on his feet. You see him. He's constantly bouncing. And because he's constantly bouncing, you can't really time when he's coming inside. That being said, to answer your question, guys like Kevin Holland, I expect him to, have success about that. But when we get into 6 through the top 6, that's where we're going to see trouble because those guys are a lot faster. Those guys can read things a lot quicker than Kevin Holland. Not saying Kevin Holland's not a world-class level, but when you get to the elite, where you get to championship level, that's where you see guys that make smarter reads. I'll give you a pinpoint example. Michael Vandenpage's first loss was against Douglas Lima in the Grand Prix. And what Douglas Lima did so well is that he anticipated in a split second when he was going to lunge in, kicking his front leg out, which pretty much, said pretty much the end of it for him. So really, I don't know how far he can get with it. I think he could get into the top 10, but when we get into the top 5, there has to be a lot more layers to his game. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to showboating. Showboating against Kevin Holland's one thing, but then showboating against Shavkat Ramagov is like a whole different thing. You need your whole focus on that. But I think what we're really saying is I think he's going to be I think he's going to be a star. I don't know if he's going to be championship level, but I think at least within 10 to 15, they'll have fairly well success for him.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people have been potentially clamoring for him versus Wonder Boy next, right? And I think that would be a very fun fight, right? Obviously, once he gets closer to the top of the rankings, 170 pounds is one of the most grappling heavy divisions there is, right? You have Sean Brady, you have Bilal Muhammad, obviously not Leon, but Kamaru went up, but he is said that he is open to potentially making another championship run when he's ready, right? So potentially Kamaru Usman's up there. You got Colby Covington up there, right? Gilbert Burns is another guy that obviously didn't get the dub tonight, but another dangerous guy as well, right? So this is a really grappling heavy division. So I do think it would be fun to see MVP versus Wonder Boy next because, it allows MVP to, if he gets the win, allow his star to shine a little bit brighter. And then, from there, then he makes that serious, threat or chase to the title from there, right? Sean saying potentially Wonder Boy versus Colby coming soon. If we see that, then there may be Vicente Luque versus MVP or a Sean Brady. If you want to test him.
I'd like to see Jeff Neal. I would like that to be the next matchup. I think that would be an exciting matchup. And I think that could main event like a fight night too. So that would be an exciting matchup.
There you go. So Blake, I'll throw this one to you. What's the most exciting matchup for you for MVP? And what is it for you?
Well, the problem with MVP is that he's in the welterweight division. And the welterweight division is star-studded, my man. That's what it is. I mean, we're already talking about Shavkat Ramanov. He's sitting at number 3. Gilbert Burns fought on this card tonight. And yes, he lost, but he technically was in the lead before he caught that knee tonight. And he's sitting at number 4. Okay, then you got Ian Machado Gary sitting at number 6. You got Stephen Thompson sitting at number 8. My man just said Jeff Neal at number 9. But Jack Della Maddalena is also in this same division, who won tonight, who was sitting at 11. And then you got Neil Magny at 12. Like, he has so many guys that he could go through or be put up against that would make this an incredible fight. So the real question is where do you gauge his talent? And yes, obviously he did his thing in Bellator. What is he doing in this division, which is probably the most contested division in the entire UFC? Where is he really stacking up? And I really don't know. I would love to see the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight. I would love to see the Jeff Neal fight. Does he get to jump over Jack Della Maddalena, who's sitting at number 11 as of?
Well, he's going to be 4.
Yeah.
You'd have to think he's going to be 4. Jack Della Maddalena is going to be 4 because he just beat Gilbert Burns.
Because he beat Gilbert Burns, exactly.
Right.
That's
So you're probably going to have him, like you said, Stephen Thompson is 8, Jeff Neal is 9, Vicente Luque is 10, and Neil Magny is 12. So you just beat 13. So I think those are your 4 options right there.
And I think those are all great options. But it's so funny that, like, the welterweight division is just so stacked. Like, where do you give him? Because the UFC does 2 things. It rewards fighters based off performance and stylistic matchups. And it also rewards fighters based off of where they are in the rankings. And that's what I'm curious as to what they're going to do next. Where are they going to rank MVP based? Are they going to use a lot of his Bellator accolades to bump him up? Or are they going to use the classical UFC style where they kind of bump him down and fight through that gauntlet? Who knows? I really don't know. I would like to see them bump him up early because of his accolades, but I have no idea how they're going to actually play this scenario.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say because they gave him number 13 in his debut, I would say that at this point, he would have to fight someone in the rankings in his next fight because he can't fight an unranked guy. Like he can't be a can killer in the UFC. That's not how they run things. Bellator is a whole different thing. Bellator, they just like to build stars. But here you have to earn your star power. I think, though, they're going to give him another favorable matchup. That's why I said Jeff Neal, because it's not someone in the top 5 or in the top 6, but it's someone that could give him another test and that could, stylistically showcase more of MVP's skills.
And I loved that pick because Jeff Neal's top 10. So if you give him Hands of Steel, Jeff Neal, that's a top 10 fight. And he obviously beats Jeff Neal. Boom. He's automatically
in the contention.
Yes, you're right.
For sure. So it looks like Blake's laptop might have just died there for a little bit. But let's keep it right here in the welterweight division, Johan, right? We had Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. And according to the cards, Gilbert was up 2-0, right? And this was a really competitive fight, right? And this was in the first round, you saw Jack getting the cleaner strikes, but Burns was able to get some control and actually get some back time, I believe, at the end of the first round. Second round, it was the second round that he was actually able to get the back control. But the takedown defense throughout most of the fight by Jack Della Maddalena was absolutely insane, right? He was doing a great job for the most part, able to get into it and able to stave off Gilbert Burns and make it mostly a striking contest for most of the bout. Able to, when Gilbert threw 1 punch, Jack was throwing 2 or 3. And that was, a theme throughout most of the fight. The judges apparently had it 2-0, according to some people, going into the third round. So after in the third round, Gilbert Burns was able to actually get down Jack and was actually able to get really good control of him. But from that point, Jack was able to do a crazy spin, got back up, caught Gilbert shooting in with a takedown with a beautiful knee, ended up getting him finished out with some ground and pound. Blake, I know you had some thoughts with this one, my man. What were your thoughts on this fight? And, did you think that Jack was going to be able to pass the test of Gilbert Burns?
I'm not gonna lie. I placed a bet against Jack Della Maddalena, and that was only because Gilbert Burns is amazing on the ground, and he's got good submission art. And when it came to the actual fight, Della Maddalena was boxing his ass off. I mean, he was boxing his ass in the next Tuesday. But what happened was I had first round Jack Della Maddalena. Second round, Gilbert Burns came in with the control and controlled him for that second round. So it was 1-1 going into the third. Going into the third, Gilbert Burns got himself in a great position on the back, had his arm around the neck, and all he had to do was secure position for about a minute 30. That's what he had to do. And he would have secured the win. But he didn't realize that Jack Della Maddalena had pretty great escape game, because the way that they were on the fence and that they turned, Della Maddalena was able to stand up, and that is exactly what ended, because he knew Gilbert Burns was going to try to shoot for the takedown, because the takedown was the way that Gilbert Burns was going to be able to finish the fight up 2-1, and he was going to secure the win. And was it a sexy secure? No. But was it a secure? Yes. But he knew, okay, Gilbert Burns is probably about to shoot again, because he lost control on the ground through that devastating knee. And that knee ended the entire game. I mean, Gilbert Burns had no idea what planet he was on after that knee ended him in the face. Okay. So, one, great game plan by Gilbert Burns, bad execution. Bad game plan by Jack Della Maddalena, amazing execution when it came to hitting him with the knee. So that was extremely, that was one of those fights where I'm cheering one, because I didn't have a dog in the fight. I was cheering one way, cheering the other, cheering one way. Holy fuck, he threw a fucking knee as he hit him. Oh my God. That was an amazing game plan from Jack Della Maddalena, who had gauged Gilbert Burns the entire fight and knew he's gonna take me down. This is how he wins the fight. Might as well throw a knee. Ended up being the winner of the entire fight because of that. And then obviously he landed the shots at the end, but it was the knee that solidified the fight.
Yeah, and then what a crazy call out by Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, who on earth calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov after getting a win? That is one of the toughest matchups that you can potentially look for in the welterweight division. And, shout out to the man, Dave Van Auken, joining us this late. It's 3:22. Happy daylight saving time with everybody.
Shout out to Dave
over here, everybody. So, that's absolutely insane. Like you said, it was beautifully timed by Jack Della Maddalena. But Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Jack Della Maddalena. I'm not going to lie. Shavkat, to me, is the boogeyman in this division. I think it's just a matter of time when it comes to the name of Shavkat Rakhmonov. But Johan, thoughts on how do you expect that match out to play out?
Well, listen, JDM, I'm surprised that he called out Shavkat. I mean, think about it. No one wants to fight him. He's the most well-versed, most dangerous, most feared fighter at 170. But what I like about Jack Della Maddalena is the fact that he was so composed, so poised in that Gilbert Burns fight. Think about it. There was no change in his tempo throughout the entire 3 rounds. Even when he was getting taken down, the scrambles seemed like they were going at his pace, a very calculated pace. His fighting style was like a combination of Chito Vera and Petr Yan combined into one, because he was so patient, but at the same time, he was picking and placing his shots he was making reads at his own place. It almost looked like slow motion, but somehow Gilbert Burns was not able to catch him. It's like there were slick movements. And there's one little detail that I feel like we're not mentioning. Before the third round, JDM's corner was telling him that he had to be more aggressive. He had to start to close the distance a little bit more. And right at the beginning of the third round, he started kind of being more aggressive. And that's when he changed the pace for the first time with his shots. And that made Gilbert Burns a lot more frantic to take him down. So that was already a sign for JDM to have a counter. But I think the biggest thing is that the one thing I like about Jack Della Maddalena is his IQ. Yes, he was down in the cards, but you could tell that he was never out of the fight. He was never like, oh, I'm out of this fight, because you could tell by his composure. You can tell by how he's placing his shots. You can tell by how he's handling the grappling exchanges. That's why I'm excited for the Shavkat fight, because yes, he is a dangerous man. He is a dangerous opponent on the ground. He's a creative striker, which, someone who has an elite ground game shouldn't be that creative on the feet.
Yeah.
But JDM is right now one of the smartest fighters in that welterweight division. And I think that he could possibly have a game plan, maybe not to beat him, but to make it a tough fight. So if that fight happens next, I'll pay $80 just for that fight alone. That fight will sell out my house. I do not care. I will put 3 mortgages down for that fight. I'm telling you right now. So book it, Dana. Book it.
So my question to you is, and John, you can answer this as well. Does it surprise you guys for a guy whose nose is flat to his face? I mean, it's flat. Look at my nose. It's big. Like he can miss so many punches because he's got a very cement-like face. Does that help him in any of this? And I know this is very superficial, but the guy's nose goes straight down, obviously because it's been broken a couple times. But does that help him in the long run?
All I'm gonna say is it didn't really do much difference for Ian Heinisch. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much because Jack is just a different fighter, man. At the end of the day, I definitely understand that. That's a hilarious question, but yeah, it didn't do anything for Ian Heinisch. But let's get to this main card opener, because this was insane as well. This entire card was insane. So definitely want to touch a couple more fights before we get out of here tonight. But main card opener: Song Yadong versus Petr Yan, and just the fight you expected to see, right? Petr Yan in the first round, downloading the information. Song showing very good striking in that first round, good left hooks. He was able to just get a lot of good shots with that lead hand. He was really good. The speed was there for Song Yadong. But you knew what was happening in the first round. It happened the same in the Aldo fight. It happened in the same in the first Aljamain Sterling fight. Petr Yan downloads information in that first round, better than almost anybody that I've seen in the UFC. And in the second and third round, this man started to turn it up. You saw him going to attack the body, right? Going to hit him with a beautiful uppercut, I believe, as well, that didn't rock him. But, man, he's just able to eat the shots. Third round, spinning wheel kick by Petr Yan. Song Yadong eats it. Both guys going at it, but Petr Yan just with the cleaner punches throughout the end of the fight. Sean, I do disagree. I do think the card met expectations, at least in my opinion. I thought the fights on the card were absolutely amazing. But just overall, Blake, I'll give you this one, right? With a loss, Petr Yan could have potentially been in a really bad position of never going to, with losing 4 in a row, right? Even though losing to Sean O'Malley, Aljamain Sterling, and then potentially the future champion in Merab Dvalishvili, that's nothing to hang your hat on too bad, right? But still, losing 4 fights in a row for Petr Yan could have been devastating. And then losing up against a up-and-comer like Song Yadong, you would have, that would have really just hurt his chances as potentially being just a gatekeeper in the division. So with Petr Yan getting a win tonight, what do you think is the path for him to potentially go back to the top of the division? As you know, and we've seen him do before.
Yeah, what I thought, I honestly thought this fight, there was a minute, and correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me what you guys thought. I thought there was a brief moment where Song Yadong actually had this fight. Am I wrong?
There were moments, but it was.
In the fight.
Say that again?
I'm saying within the fight, I thought there was a couple moments where Song Yadong might be finishing. I'm not talking about the actual decision or the actual finish. I'm talking about while watching the fight, there was a couple times where I was like, damn, Song Yadong might finish Peter Yan right here.
I think it was just the way that Peter Yan leans towards
Yeah.
I don't think it was really. I don't think he really got caught too much in this fight. I mean, maybe there was some shots here or there that rung his bell, but I don't think he would really had the finishing opportunity. Johan, go ahead.
I get what you're saying, because I would say, because Song Yadong throws heavy shots. I think he does throw very heavy shots, and they look like they're going to finish. But I think Piotr Yan, I think the biggest thing is because the way he leans and the way he kind of feints, it's very one over heavy. So he heavily leans on the side. So when he does get clipped or something, it looks like he's getting hurt. But I don't think he was greatly in trouble. I do think the fight was kind of getting out of hand for him in the first half for a second, because he was downloading information, because Song was more active, but I don't think he was really in trouble of getting hurt. And I think that's because I think, one, Piotr Yan has a very high boxing guard. He's a national boxing champion. So that high guard and that elbow, the way that he kind of maneuvers his elbow, is going to prevent him from absorbing most of those strikes. So it's going to look it's going to look bad because it's such a high guard, and it's kind of, he's absorbing it as close to your head as possible.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But it's not, but he wasn't ever, I wouldn't say he wasn't ever in trouble of getting finished. So, I mean, overall, though, I think it was a close fight. I think Piotr Yan did edge it out.
It was a great fight.
It was a great fight. But I think the conclusion of this is, I'm just glad Piotr Yan is back in the win column, because think about this. Piotr Yan in that division has the best resume, the best fight resume out of all those guys. He has fought, ever since he was champion, he has fought nothing but top contenders. Literally. Yes. Look at those names, and you tell me, have any of them fell off, or have any of those guys, are those guys still elite? And the answer is yes, 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 yes. I don't know how many yeses there are, but there's probably about 10 in there. So the fact that Piotr Yan was able to win just shows that he's still at an elite level. And those losses were close losses. So we're back, man. We're back, baby. We are back. The bantamweight division is on fire. We have 1 through 8. Crazy. So yes, that's all I'm saying. Yes,
it's insane, the amount of talent in this division. Just like you said, from 1 to 8, Henry Cejudo is down there. He's probably going to face Brandon Moreno next, coming up a weight class. So it's just insane. But yeah, Sean, it's like you said, daylight saving. It went from 1:59 to 3 a.m. So we're here at 3:30 a.m. on the East Coast, at least, out here. But we're almost 50 minutes in, so I do want to touch on some prelims before we jump out of here. Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida. That was an impressive showing by Curtis Blades, right? In the first round, Jailton obviously having his way. I do believe it was the most takedowns in a single round by a heavyweight, by Jailton. Definitely think that it was, it was impressive by Jailton in that first round to get that. But in the second round, he shot a naked takedown, left his head in a really bad spot, in a similar spot that Yuri Prohaska left his head against Alex Pereira. And obviously Alex went to the elbows, Curtis Blade went to the hammer fists, and after about 10, 15 of those hammer fists, Jailton couldn't take it anymore. This guy is a heavyweight. You're a heavyweight. You just can't take those punches like maybe in a lighter division. But Curtis Blades able to get the win, able to get his name back up there. Obviously, he is the quote-unquote gatekeeper of the division in that sense, but he called out Tom Aspinall. And, obviously the first fight, Tom Aspinall had the injury. He injured, he tore his ACL, didn't get to see the fight go down how it could play. Do you think that's a fight that we see? Or do you think that it's more likely Tom Aspinall potentially waits it out until he gets the winner, more than likely winner of John Jones and Stipe Miocic?
I'm not really sure because, this is Curtis Blades' first win after suffering his loss against Pavlovich. And I'm not sure if Tom Aspinall wants to fight Blades. At least, I don't know if that matchup will entice him as much as another matchup that he could defend. I think Curtis Blades needs another win before he can even get into that opportunity, I believe. A fight against Cyril Gane would be perfect for that. I mean, maybe avenge the Pavlovich, but that might be a little too soon. I mean, he's kind of in a weird position. That whole heavyweight division is actually in a weird position because they're all stagnant because of John Jones. John Jones is hurt, and John Jones, once he's recovered, he wants to fight Stipe, who hasn't fought in over 3 years. So it's kind of weird because now this heavyweight division is at a standstill, and the matchup that can be made is it's kind of hard. It's really hard to kind of like pick. So it's a stagnant division right now. And the fact that Halton Almeida lost makes it more stagnant because at least if Halton Almeida won, you can make a lot more matchups because it's a new fresh face in that division. Speaking of him, I was so impressed in the first round, and he literally unraveled all my impression in that second. I think that if you're going to be at that elite level, you have to have an IQ. You have to have that IQ. Like, why would you accumulate 15 hammer fists while trying to get a takedown? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I agree with you. Blades is undervalued at the beginning. He didn't look great, but he pulled it out. But with this win, it kind of keeps the division where it was before the fight, and that's just stagnant. You know what I mean? And I just don't know. Like, I don't know what's next. Blades maybe can fight Volkov, Jan, maybe fight Aspinall, but I'm not really. It's weird. I'm not really enticed by that matchup, even though the first fight wasn't even a fight because we didn't even get to see it. Tom Aspinall hurt his knee in the first 15 seconds. I just don't think Tom Aspinall is going to want that fight. I think, to your point, I think he might want to wait it out for the Jones-Stipe winner. So again, the key word, the word of the day for heavyweights, stagnant.
Stagnant. It's a very stagnant division just because John Jones waiting on Stipe Miocic. I mean, before you had DC and Stipe taking 3 years for their trilogy. Thinking of Stipe, Anthony Joshua folded Francis Ngannou, leaving his leg the same way Stipe Miocic did. So that was absolutely insane just to see that. But this card, we had a bunch of prelims that were absolutely on fire. So I'm just going to give you the opportunity to break down whichever one was your favorite, just to kind of run down the list. For anybody that didn't get to watch the card, this was a great prelim showing. Kyler Phillips had an insanely impressive performance, taking down Pedro Munoz with one of the most diverse attacks that I've seen in a while, right? Just showing kicks at all 3 levels, explosive attacks, flying knees. 48-21 was a strike differential at the end of the first round, 114-52 overall. Great performance by him. We also saw Michel Pereira with the walkout dance and then getting the finish in the first round. Insane performance by him. We saw Robelis de Spain, one of the longest reaches in the entire UFC history, making his debut with another finish in under 30 seconds as well. So, Johan, what was your favorite prelim?
Definitely had to be Robelis de Spain because the way that he finished him, the way that he caught him was impressive because it was super, super sloppy. He was catching him on the way back, and it wasn't like he was gauging his shots. He was kind of throwing it and seeing what kind of landed. You know what I mean? It was almost like darts. He was trying to see which one was the bullseye. And literally, if you see it in slow-mo, it's almost like the Matrix. That raw power is impressive. You know what I mean? 5-0, 5 knockouts. I think if he can just polish it up, get a good camp, get a good coach to kind of channel all that power, put it into technique, put it into some nice footwork. we have ourselves a contender in that heavyweight division. I'm telling you right now.
Awesome. So Blake, Johan, you left us here. So he chose Robelis.
Right.
He chose Robelis for his prelim. We already got to break down Curtis Blades versus Hayata Almeida. So outside of those two, give me your favorite fight that was on the prelims.
Damn. Oh, it sounds like Johan picked the best because both of those guys made my day. I know you and I had talked previously before this entire card about Desponge, and he came in and did exactly what he's done 4 out of the last 5 MMA fights. Finished an opponent in under 30 seconds. 30 seconds and under. That is rare. We know that. Like, that is rare. And I think it does hold true to his length, his experience. He's a bronze medalist in Taekwondo in the 2012 Olympics. For him to be the largest length of reach in the UFC, I mean, John Jones was what, 82 and a half, 83 and a half? Am I wrong?
Somewhere around there.
Okay, so Desponge was 84 and a half. So the fact that he's able to do what he does, and my man touched on it perfectly, which was he's able to move backwards and come over with the fists. That's what he's able to do great because he has the length. Is he polished? No, he's not. And we can all say that. But I was the most excited to see him fight on this card because I wanted to see what he would do against somebody who isn't a slouch. I mean, you can't tell me that he fought somebody who's not worthy of being in MMA. You can't tell me he's worthy of not being. I mean, Josh Parisian is not worthy of being on this card. So I thought it was really good to see what he can do. And I think his length gives him a lot more benefits than his skill does. But that being said, like you said, like he said, giving him a good coach, I would love to see what this guy turns into. And yes, he is 35. He's 35. 35 years fucking old. That is not a young gun in the UFC. That's not a young gun in MMA. But it is somebody who has had technical skills and a technical background to give him a fighting chance. With his exorbitant skills and metrics, to be able to at least do something crazy. I mean, I put money on him tonight. I did, and guess what? I won. But it'll be interesting to see how he evolves within this competition because I think the skill set is a little lacking, but I think his attributes make up for that lack of skill, and we'll see how far that takes him. Is he serious? Does he want to commit himself to the skill level of the UFC? We'll see that. But at 35 years old, that's a little late to be entering the game.
But I think the one thing that he has is that it's the heavyweight division. You know what I mean? So with it being the heavyweight division, you'll be able to take that power and use it for a lot longer. And I do think Parisian, like Sean said, rushed in a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think that was
did.
that was
I
definitely.
can't believe that Parisian rushed in. I didn't know what he was doing. I can't believe that that's what he did. That shows me that Parisian didn't watch any tape. Watched no tape at all.
No,
Yeah, but
no, it wasn't. Go ahead.
and to your point, I mean, he's 35, but Yoel Romero made his UFC debut at 36-year-old, and fucking grandpa is still fighting at this age. So like he can go at 50 at this point, and especially in the heavyweight division. Them people don't fight; they only fight like once a year. So like he can go for a while at this point.
I mean,
Beautiful.
shit. Look at Roy Nelson. Roy
Hey,
Nelson just fought
big
in
country.
Big Country just fought in bare knuckle MMA 6 months ago. I mean,
So, hey, we don't know. This guy could be potentially fighting bare knuckle MMA too. But guys, let's get to our favorite game that we play here. And I want you guys, if you're still watching, we still got 16 people in the chat. Join with us, right? You might have already seen it on Twitter or Instagram already, right? But join in. We're gonna play our favorite game, Guess the Bonus, right? So tonight we actually had one fight of the night, of course, but we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 performance bonuses here tonight.
Bro, what?
So
5?
Blake, yes. So I will, because I know the answers. I am going to start off with Blake. I'm going to put you on the spot, brother. Give me your 5 picks and give me your fight of the night.
All right. So my 5 picks. I'm obviously going with our man, Robelis the Sponge. He gets a performance bonus. Not fight it on the night, obviously. You said it's 5 overall.
5 performance bonuses and 1 fight of the night.
Okay. Performance bonuses, Robelis the Sponge. He gets a performance bonus. I'm actually also gonna go keeping it on the undercard. I'm gonna go Michel Pereira. He gets a performance bonus with the submission over Michael, name I can't fucking pronounce.
Olajaychuk.
Olajaychuk. There you go. See,
Come on. And also shout out to Joanna Jacek for entering the Hall of Fame. So
Yes.
well deserved.
so well deserved.
The best women's fight of all time.
Yes.
That
The
she was
best
able to
strawweight
put on.
of all time.
The best strawweight of all time. The most
Yes.
dominant strawweight female champion of all
Mhm.
time.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, I know we're getting off track, but she put respect on that 115-pound division because
100%.
before she became champion, Carla Esparza was killing that division just like how the flyweight division at the time was getting killed. I'm telling you, she was a trailblazer. You know, they talk about Ronda Rousey being a trailblazer. She is a true trailblazer. That division now is the way it is because of her. So that was a very well-deserved UFC Hall of Fame.
100%. And watching her in the stands, greeting all the people, everybody congratulating her. And at the same time, I love the fact that her name is Olajaychuk, but the spelling of Michael Olajaychuk is completely different, but yet they have the same pronunciation of the last name. That kind of tickles my fancy just because it's like, wow, it's not even close, but you guys have the same last name. So if we're going performances, I gave one to Robelis. I gave one to Michael and Michelle. I'm also going to give one to Curtis Blades. I'm also going to give one to Dustin Poirier. And I'm going to give one to Jack Della Maddalena. That's 4, right?
No, that's 5.
That's 5. Yeah, that's 5.
And then your fight of the night.
Fight of the night. Shit. I think you have to go the main card. I mean, I think you have to go Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera. I don't know another fight of the night that really captivated me as much as this one did. So, yeah. All those 4 plus Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera.
Well, you said this Robelis, Pereira, Blades, Jack Della Maddalena, and Dustin. That's 5, and then you gave the main event as your fight of the night. So those are your 6. Johan, what's your 6?
Oh my fuck.
Johan, come on, brother.
All right. Well, the problem is that like pretty much all the winners on this card deserve a performance bonus. So I'm trying to think. Golly. All right. So I'm gonna give it to Mr. 35-year-old. Mr. 35-year-old is gonna get it. I think Oh my gosh, this is hard. I think Dustin Poirier is going to get it. I think Curtis Blades is going to get it. Wait. Yes, I think Curtis Blades is going to get it. I'll say Sean O'Malley got a performance bonus. So who did I say so far? I have 4.
You have Poirier, Sean O'Malley, Curtis Blades, and Rebellis.
Okay. Okay, this is where it gets hard. Either Pereira or Felipe Lins, because him and Ian Cutelaba had a good fight. So I'll go Pereira. And then fight of the night, it's got to be Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis. Even though it was a 2-rounder, that was the biggest thrill ride I was on this whole night. So like, if it's not that, that's a robbery. So that's my pick.
Yeah, no. See, both you guys actually were pretty close. I think you guys were both one off, right? Johan, double bonused up on a Saturday. You gave Dustin 2 bonuses, my man. You gave him fight of the night and performance of the night, but he did get fight of the night. Dustin was fight of the night, as Joshua Madai said, right? So he was fight of the night. Performance bonuses went to the main man, Rebellis, with the knockout. You had Michelle Pereira with the bonus tonight. You had Curtis Blades with the bonus. You guys forgot the beautiful knee by Jack Della Maddalena, guys. Both you guys, I do believe, left that one off of that. And then also Sean O'Malley was a performance bonus.
Okay, I
knew. Hold up. Okay.
Dang, I went double.
I thought I said Jack, but who knows? I went out to dinner with my family tonight, and I had a little bit to drink, so who knows what I said. But
yeah, you gave Sean O'Malley. I'd have to watch the replay. It's 3:50 in the morning, but I know you guys are both off by 1.
You guys are on Florida time. That's what happens when you live in the East Coast, man. You guys are almost in fucking.
We are in the real world, Blake, but it is
astronomical
107 here, guys. Everybody in the comments. We still have 20 people in the chat, which is insane. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us. We literally got up to 50 plus people here tonight. So one of the best shows that we've done here at Fight Bananas. We really do appreciate all of you that joined us in the comments. Sean, Josh, well, of course, the main man, Mr. Dave Van Auken, for giving us the platform as well. Johan, my man, for joining us. Appreciate you. Blake, as always, for keeping the show funny as hell. We love you, brother. Final thoughts. Close it out. Give me 60 seconds or less. Blake, I'll let you start it off, baby.
Let me start it off. I thought UFC 299, I heard a lot of people in the comments say that it didn't live up to the hype. I disagree. I think it was amazing because you saw the chess match between every fighter. Okay. And did it pan out to the way fans thought it would be? No, it didn't. But that's why it's a chess match. Sometimes your queen or your king gets taken real quick. Sometimes it's a slow draw. It's a slow bleed to where the queen and the king get taken. Okay? I thought this entire card was fantastic. Because it started with, what do I always say, John? The prelims. The prelims made this card. I mean, holy shit, you had RDA on the prelims? Are you kidding me? You had Mateusz Gamrot on the prelims. You had Macy Barber, prelims. Curtis Blade, prelims. And Curtis Blade got the knockout. Like to me, when you have those type of fighters on cards that nobody watches, quote unquote, that's what makes fights so amazing. And what do we always say, John? Watch the motherfucking prelims.
Awesome,
so I think this entire card was made by the fact that the prelims were so good. And I'm going to end it with saying Dustin Poirier, everybody, I think, counted him out. I think everybody counted out Dustin Poirier. I don't know why, but I think everybody did. Motherfucker showed up and showed why he's the diamond. And then you had Suga Sean O'Malley. He lost to Chito Vera. Guess what? Came back and showed a masterclass of striking. Showed a masterclass of how you perform versus a guy who has beaten you before. He in itself was the reason to watch these fights. I don't pray for prelims. What was this?
Oh, you say he doesn't pay for the prelims. So, hey, we get to watch the prelims for free anyways.
Yeah, I don't pay for prelims. I love them regardless. Exactly. And that's what it should be. Prelims are amazing. You got to see a guy who's an up-and-comer in Desponge. Who's an up-and-comer? He's 35 years old. Yet he probably we'll throw him some real meat here soon.
But Blake, the theme, as you always say, is watch the prelims.
Watch the prelims. Watch the goddamn prelims, dude. Because that's gonna tell you who's gonna be the up and comers. Anyway, long story short, I thought this fight card for
long story short, after 4 minutes later,
shut the fuck up. For $2.99, it was amazing. I thought it was amazing. I thought Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley was amazing, and everybody should go watch this. And if you didn't see it, rewatch it, please, because it was a masterclass on Sean O'Malley's part. Anyway, up to you,
Johan. We said 60 seconds, but fuck it, just give us your thoughts.
All right, 60 minutes it is. All right, so I think what most excited me tonight about UFC 299 was that it seemed like most of the fights was like against an established star and an up-and-coming star. So it seemed like no matter the outcome, it seemed like there was about to be a changing of the guards, especially in the main card. You saw that. You saw that with the fight matchups. This fight card was fantastic. You know, I was super excited, and sometimes when I get super excited, my hopes get too high and they kind of fall under expectations. But this one exceeded it. You know what I mean? So that in itself is, you know, making my night. The fact that it's about to be 4 a.m. and I am still talking about this is crazy in and of itself. But I'm just gonna end it right here. Next month, in the wise words of the man, the myth, the legend, Chief Keef, I'm 300.
That's a beautiful way to end it, man. UFC 300 next month. It's a very stacked card, right? Maybe we didn't get the main event that we wanted to get, but top to bottom, they put together a beautiful card. And tonight was really good too, right? I mean, from I think it was the last 7 or 8 fights, they had ranked fighters throughout it, right? And like you said, every fight had a little bit of story to it. So it had some meaning when it came to all these fights. It wasn't just, these are 2 great fighters, let's hope something good happens. You know, you had guys like you said, Rebellis making his name, Michel Pereira with an exciting dance before his fight, right? Kyler Phillips making his entry to the rankings division, right? Gamrot disputing of RDA, but the entire card was just really, it built with really well story top to bottom. Sean O'Malley is able to continue his championship reign now after making his first defense, probably taking on Merab next. But guys, for everyone that's joined us up to this late, thank you, Josh, Sean, everyone else, Blake, Johan, thank you, my guys, for staying up this late. But as always, we'll keep you locked in right here on Fight Bananas with your post-fight shows, with everything with your fights. So make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys follow everybody. And if you're not already, let's go and let's watch these fights. Have a good night, guys.